And I'm going to start sharing my screen here to show a little quick PowerPoint. I'm trying not to give you death by PowerPoint, but my name is Kelly Caudle. I am, by the way, my camera's over here, but the screen I use is over here. So you're probably gonna see the side of my face the whole time. I apologize, but this screen in front of me is a 34-inch screen, and if I use it, it does all kind of weird things with Zoom. So I have a smaller screen over here that I use. But my name is Kelly Caudle. I am the lead instructor and contact at the Cisco Networking Academy Support Center at Stanley Community College. I've been here working with the Academy for over 20 years. If you've been in the state for a while and in CTE, you've probably at least seen my name once or twice or seen me at a conference on occasion, because I think several years ago, there was a big CTE meeting in Concord, in fact, and at one of the hotels, and we set up internet and provided wireless access for the conference so that they wouldn't have to pay such a crazy fee for that. We have been involved as a school with the Cisco Networking Academy, like I said, for over 21 years. We are the support center that supports a great deal of the Southeast. Now, one of the things that we'll talk about the Academy that I want you to know about, it is an open model. You do have to have what we call a support relationship with an Academy Support Center. We are the one that supports North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia. We have 11 states now, and over 163 or 4, I think we're up to 64, 164 Cisco academies. Those academies are high schools, community colleges, and universities. So for instance, we support East Carolina's Cisco Networking Academy. We support North Carolina Central University. We support NCANT. We support UNCW. We support Liberty University. So all over the place, we support universities. We support community college. Some of you said Durham. We support Durham Community College. We support Wake Tech. We support Central Piedmont. Rowan Cabarrus is one of our big Cisco academies. So we are all over the state. I think someone's got some feedback here. Valerie, I'm gonna mute you, I believe. I'll see if that stops it. Yep, okay. And Valerie, if you need, I'm gonna unmute you. You can mute yourself on the bottom if you need to, and then that way you can, if you need to ask a question. I'll just make sure everybody's unmuted when I get to that point of asking questions. I do want to say that anytime you have a question, raise your hand or just unmute yourself and ask it. This is a very open discussion. So that's my background. Funny thing too, I have 2 degrees in English. I have a BA and an MA in English. I have a graduate certificate in information assurance. I have multiple Cisco certifications, multiple other industry certifications. I'm one of those people, if you've ever had the Myers-Briggs test, I sit dead in the middle, which means one day I want to read Shakespeare and one day I want to read a technical manual. People always say, well, that's the greatest place to be. Well, no, it's not, because you really don't know what you want to do from one day to the next. But I will say, the good thing is it's given me the ability to see, I've taught everything from English to adult high school. I've taught adult high school and GED at the community college system, all the way up to our advanced Cisco classes. So I've been able to see kind of how the Cisco program fits in this little niche and what it will do for your students. Real quick overview, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on it, but the Cisco Academy is huge. There's 2.15 million enrolled students globally currently. There are, in the United States, 201,000 students involved in the Academy program, and it is just huge. In fact, it's growing more worldwide than it is in the United States. Silence my phone there. So pretty amazing there. It is Cisco plus their partners, and we are one of their partners, an Academy Support Center and an Instructor Training Center. That's somewhat unusual. Sometimes you have just Academy Support Centers and those are not Instructor Training Centers. We do both. So we train instructors throughout the United States and the world. And then we have underneath the ASC-ITCs is where you would sit as schools. You are the individual academies who teach students. And our job as Academy Support Center is to provide you support, things like this on how to become an academy. When you have an issue with an instructor issue, or you're trying to get an instructor certified to teach a certain class, which won't be a problem with this class we're talking about today, but is going to be if you move down the road and want to do other classes like CCNA or those that require instructor training, we have those classes available online and at a very, very good price compared to other instructor training centers. And then down the road, what we want to do, obviously, in our end goal is to prepare students to get jobs, or prepare them to move on and to a 2+2 or a university setting, or any of those. In fact, we have a partnership right now with the University of South Carolina to where we are working to develop an online portal system. And that system will be providing labs and those types of things for certain courses inside of the NetAcad system. And we also are working as part of that to develop 2+2 partnerships to make sure that if they want to come to your local community college for 2 years and then go on 2 years to go to ECU, they could do that. If they're in South Carolina, they could do 2 years at their community college in South Carolina and then go to USC. So those are kind of what we're trying to do there. It is a global delivery platform, and I'll show you that platform here in a minute inside of NetAcad and how it is currently Canvas-based, and it is a full-fledged delivery platform. In other words, you have the ability to create classes, add students in those classes, and then track those students inside those classes. So pretty neat thing that's provided. And this is the big thing for me. The big thing about the Academy is it is really focused on hands-on skills development. Now, this is going to be a programming class. So hands-on skills development is going to be obviously the programming inside of the Python itself. The other item that when Linda and I were talking about setting this class up, some of the complaints on the first Python class, I believe, was that, you know, there wasn't enough hands-on, there wasn't enough that you could do. So we've integrated into this particular section into, and by the way, we're talking about BP16, Python Programming 2. We've integrated 2 parts into the course. One is a NetAcad course called Programming Essentials in Python. So obviously that's going to be the Python programming portion, and I'll show you some more about it. But then we added in Introduction to IoT. And the reason being, there's a couple reasons. Number one, a lot of these Internet of Things devices are programmed using Python, and it gives us the ability to do some hands-on stuff. So let me give you an example here. In fact, I'm going to change my camera here. See if this works. And I've got to stop my video, but I will get rid of my virtual background for a minute. I have on my desk, this is an Elmo document camera. This is actually one of the Canakits that I've been working with my online IoT class that I'm teaching for instructors. This is a Raspberry Pi, and it comes with a breadboard and all kind of components. In fact, I'll show you this. Here's all different kinds of components that come in the Canakit, and we'll discuss a little bit more about this. But this kit allows students to do hands-on labs using the IoT, which is really pretty neat. It allows them to do some things that were not part of the previous programming class. And again, the idea is to give them that hands-on, to give them taking the skills and applying them in a real way, which I think is really neat about the Cisco Academy. So let's look first at our first part of the BP16, and that is the Programming Essentials in Python. It is a course that is, I'm not going to read this to you, but it's designed to give you all types of hands-on skills inside of Python. It is teaching you Programming Essentials, so it's a continuation of what they've learned in the first Python class. There are 5 modules with interactive content. There's more than 30 labs they can do. There's built-in online tools to perform the labs and the practice, and I'll show you that in a second. And there's chapters and final exams. In addition, this does align to certification, the PCAP certification. So it aligns to an industry certification. We're going to be using it in the BP16 as a instructor-led class, and it is designed for 60 to 70 hours. Now that's minimum 60 to 70 hours. For most of our courses, the minimum, it takes much more than that to do it. We'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to add to it to get more hours, but that Introduction to IoT basically is 15 more hours of content. So what do you need to teach Programming Essentials in Python? Well, first off, the great news is you need a computer with internet access, and Chromebooks will work. Now that is huge. I want to show you, and I can show you right here, our course materials. Can somebody tell me they're seeing the program Prog Essentials Fall 2020? Somebody unmute themselves.
Kelly, this is Becky. Yeah, we can see it. Can I ask a quick question?
Oh yeah, please, everybody ask questions.
Our system, Rowan Salisbury, is moving for high school students to have, instead of Mac books, we're going to have iPads. I do have a lab of PCs.
Okay.
And with this COVID stuff, and of course, you know, we don't know what we're doing AB day or whatever the governor tells us.
Right. Right.
What's your sense about will an iPad work? I know that I've been using Azure Notebooks, and it's working fine.
Right.
For us. And I guess if they could get internet access with their iPads, theoretically they could work on certain things. But I don't know. What's your thought?
I have no idea, to be quite honest. I would think now here's because the iPad has Safari on it, which is a standard-based browser.
Right.
I would think it would work, but I simply don't know without having an iPad. You know,
for Azure, for working on Azure Notebooks, Safari did not work well for us. We had to use Chrome.
Okay, but you can load Chrome on the iPad.
I assume we can.
I don't know about that, but I'll be honest with you, we can test it, and I don't know. You're the first school system I've heard going to just iPads, because of, you know, Chromebooks are pretty limited in what they can do, and then iPads are even more limited in what they can do.
Okay.
But we can test it.
It may be one of those things where it has to be in my classroom on the PC. I'm not sure.
Right. Well, and I'll be honest with you. We can get together after this meeting if you have an iPad, and we can test it and see if we can get it. And actually, I know we've got iPads here on campus. I'll find someone with an iPad and we'll try to test it. All of our iPads are older.
Yeah.
So maybe the newer iPads would be able to do it. Hey, it'd be a good excuse. I tell the school they got to buy me an iPad.
There you go.
But I actually did buy a Chromebook to test, and it works fine on a Chromebook. So.
All righty.
But we can test that. Let me put that in my notes. Test iPad. Okay. Thank you for letting me know that you could see this too. iPad.
Is this published in Canvas yet, Kelly?
This is actually, here's the funny thing. This is Netacad. Okay, so this is our netacad.com.
Looks
so
like Canvas.
It is pretty much Canvas. And this is the class. So when I click launch course, this is actually my course on netacad.com.
Okay.
So it's not in your Canvas. It's on netacad.com.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So here we see, folks, the 5 different modules: introduction to Python and computer programming, data types and variables, all the way down to object-oriented approaches, and the PCAP exam voucher. There's a voucher that gives you 50% off of the PCAP exam. What I want to show you that's really neat about this particular curriculum is built into the curriculum. Okay, so when I click next, here's the information, but built into the curriculum is a sandbox that is a fully functional Python environment. So if I click run, it's going to run print hello world and do hello world. I can make changes up here. So print hello world, print, and this is another hello. And if I run this, then we're going to get both outputs, hello world and another hello. So you can actually, the great thing about this class is you don't have to load anything at all on your PCs in the classroom. All they have to have is internet access and be able to get to netacad.com. Or if they're at home, as it looks like we're going to be at least part of the fall, or even spring, hopefully not spring, but we'll see. There's going to be the ability that anybody who has an internet computer internet access through a computer is going to be able to run this class and is going to be able to do their labs. It's really, really neat. As we go down in here, you can see here's the lab, the print function, and it's actually, here's the lab itself, and it tells you what to do. Okay, use the print function to print the line, hello Python, use double quotes around the string. Having done that, print your first name, remove the double quotes and run the code, see the errors. So the lab is built in to the environment so that you don't have to do anything outside of the environment, which I think is pretty amazing. And it's really neat. And in fact, if your instructors have other labs they want the students to do, as long as it will run inside of a normal Python development environment, you can run it right here. So students can do all types of things using this sandbox without having to load Python locally.
Kelly, I don't want to keep interrupting, but
Oh, please do.
this looks a whole lot like CodeHS, and there's a Python course in CodeHS.
Could be. I'm not familiar with that particular system. This is the Python Institute, so it could very well be that they're sharing the same code base on the back end.
Yeah.
But I'm not certain. I'm not certain about that.
Okay.
Like I said, you've got all the different things here, discussing the print function, discussing, basically some of this will be review from your Python 1 class. If your students are like my students, review is a very good thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I do think too that the ability to constantly be bouncing back and forth between seeing examples in real time instead of having to go from a curriculum over to a development environment to a curriculum, I think it's really neat to be able to do it this way. We do have a group of instructors working on the instructor training class. Linda can talk more about that later. But the goal is that your instructors are going to teach this. We'll go through that particular course inside of Canvas, and we'll have access to all of this to be able to start getting ready for their classes. But that is the environment for Python Essentials. Excuse me, Program Essentials in Python. The other item that's part of this course is Introduction to IoT. It is a course designed to, first off, introduce what IoT is, so what Internet of Things is. It gives them a chance to see how this particular discipline is starting to emerge, how this particular discipline is changing networking and changing the world very quickly. There's been, if you do anything with security, you see IoT warnings all the time. It's around 20 hours worth of coursework, and it is a series of, it's set up exactly like the other class. So it's set up like Program Essentials in Python. So if I go out here and I go to my Intro to IoT Summer, you'll see here I can launch the course. A little bit of different environment, but we get, in fact, one of the entire chapters is talking about how everything is programmable, and it relates directly to, here's a program to verify leap years in Python. And so the students could actually literally copy this code over into the sandbox and run this code and see this particular program at work. This course also has built-in labs. It has a program called Packet Tracer, which is a simulation environment that you get if you are a member of the Cisco Networking Academy. By the way, Packet Tracer works in many different environments. We use it in classes for A+, we use it in classes for networking. It's used in a great number of things. And there are also hands-on labs. And this is where the hands-on labs are where we start using what is called the Canakit, which is a required component for the introduction to IoT. So what do you need to teach IoT? You need a computer with network access, and you need the Windows machine for use with the Canakit, because there's a special app that you load. It's just a small little app called PLApp, which is Cisco Prototyping Lab app, which is this. And it is used to connect to a Raspberry Pi that is on the network. And so you can connect to a Raspberry Pi like that. The Canakit is Raspberry Pi 3 Plus with accessories. And I showed you a picture of it. I showed it to you using my camera. We would say minimum of 1 per classroom, more depending on the size of the class. They are around $100 per kit. And honestly, you may already have everything you need if you teach any electronics and you already have Raspberry Pis, because the kit is not really all that much more than a Raspberry Pi with a breadboard and the components to connect some LEDs and some other items to do labs.
Kelly,
Yes.
quick question. I'm sorry.
No,
Do
go
you
ahead.
have ordering information for the Canakits?
We will get that to you. Yeah, we will
Okay.
get that to you. Linda's going to have to look around and see the best way to do this in terms of on state contract. I'll order
Okay.
mine directly from canakit.com, but we may be able to find a state vendor who can do it even at a cheaper price.
Awesome. Thank you.
There's a couple suggestions, Tanya, on the equipment guide. If you look at the equipment guide for this course, there are two links to the kits. And Kelly, how many students per kit would you say?
I would say you could do 3 or 4 students per kit.
Okay.
And even there, what I would do is you could even do more than that, because the labs are fairly short. So you can have a group doing, working on packet tracer, and this is what we do in our networking class. One group will be working on packet tracer lab, while another group of 4 or 5 are working on the real labs, and then you just take it apart and have them do the lab. The next group do the lab. So I mean, it's pretty simple. You'll see from this picture here, we're just putting in 1 or 2 cables and an LED and a resistor, and then loading a program onto it. So the kits, the labs are fairly quick. The beauty too, though, is there are additional labs. We had one instructor asking about additional labs. We can pull additional labs out of a more advanced IoT class that works with this kit. But I would say try to get 1 for every 4 to 5 students. And I would do it half and half, though. I would say, like, if you had 20 students in the classroom, I'd buy 2 kits, have half the class working on packet tracer, half the class working on the real kits, and then the next day switch them up. That way you can kind of minimize the cost. The neat thing I will say about these kits is there are so many different neat Python examples or programs or things you can do with them that they can be used even above and beyond just what the labs that are in our program. Are there any other questions? Let me pause just a minute and see if there's any questions. Anybody want to take themselves off mute and ask a question?
Kelly, I got my husband's iPad and he has loaded Chrome on it.
Okay, all right, it should work then. If it's got Chrome, it should work fine. Yep.
Okay.
Anything that's HTML5 based, which Chrome is, it should work fine. Yep. Okay. There is an optional item. It's called Introduction to Packet Tracer, and it's a short little 8 to 10 hour thing that introduces how to use Packet Tracer. It's not something required, but the neat thing is there is an iOS version of Packet Tracer. So I do know Packet Tracer will run on the iPad. So that's something neat that you can actually run it if you do go just to iPads. That will work there. But that's not an absolute requirement. It's just something that we offer as an additional free item that students can use and instructors can use. I am going to strongly recommend that all instructors go through it because it introduces how to use Packet Tracer, what it is, what the simulation environment is, and those types of things. So what do you need to do to teach this course? Well, first off, in order to have access to Programming Essentials in Python course and the Introduction to IoT materials, you do have to be a Cisco Networking Academy. The way we do this is twofold. One, if it's an individual school, we charge $300 per year. That's our support fee. The reason we do that is because at the school now, there's me, there's Brian Crump, and there will be another person we're actually interviewing today for my support assistant who retired in May. But that helps to support those particular endeavors. The other thing we do, honestly, is our Cisco Academy fees help to support us doing things like we are the state sponsor for the Internet Working Competition at Skills USA. We are the national, we send national judges to the Skills USA competitions. We do things throughout the state and travel to different things like NCCIA, which it's our Computer Instructor Association conference. So we have a yearly meeting of all Cisco academies there. So we basically have to charge a fee so that we can continue to stay in business. We don't get rich off of it by no means. In fact, it's really not even covering what it costs to do it, but it's something that at least my administration knows there's some unencumbered funds coming in so that we can continue to make this worthwhile. We'll talk about how to join that, and I'll show you netacad.com here in just a second. The other is purchase those Canakits. Now, one thing I would say is I would go ahead and purchase a Canakit probably for your instructors. We don't know, honestly, what's going to happen in the fall and spring. I think most of you will be teaching this in the spring. Is that not, if that's correct? I think that is correct. So we may want to wait on you purchasing those, but that's the two main things. Become a Cisco Academy. Let me do this again. You will become a Cisco Academy and purchase Canakits. Now, I believe there were 2 schools that are interested that are already academies. Wake is one, and that I do need to mention this. Let's say you have 4 high schools. We don't charge you $300 per high school. If you have more than 2 high schools, we charge you a flat $600 fee for up to 6 schools that can be a networking academy. So Wake has, I think, 4 or 5 that are academies, and we charge their entire system $600. So if you have multiple high schools, the first 2 are, would be 600, but anything above that, it's 600 up to 6 schools that want to teach this. If it's just a single school, it'll be a $300 fee. If you want to investigate the Networking Academy, go to netacad.com. You can look at the courses that are available here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the academy, because if your school is not already an academy, the advantage of becoming an academy is much more than just these 2 courses. And I'll show you that in just a second. But if you scroll down, you can keep looking and see all different kinds of things here. But for you, you'd want to go to the educators section. And under educators, you can read about what the academy does, what it is. There's videos here. And then you actually can go all the way down. I don't know why they do this, but get started. And then they say, okay, here we go. What does it take to get started? You can look at your readiness quiz. One of the things they discuss is size of a classroom. Don't worry as much about that because, especially in our COVID-19, just be aware that this is more geared towards if you're going to be teaching CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Associate, but you're going to be teaching other classes. And you may down the road decide to do CCNA because that's what a lot of schools use for Net 1, Net 2 in the state of North Carolina. And then at the very bottom is apply now to join the program. So once you get here, that's when you actually start the process of becoming an academy. And I'll be more than happy to help you walk through the process of how to do this. But it's really pretty easy. Once you do this, your application goes in. Jesse Pagan, who is the area account manager for the Southeast, will make me aware that it's happened. And then we will work on getting everything set up for you and get you our contract for the 2020-2021 school year. So the place to go is netacad.com and start poking around there and take a look, and it will give you a chance to see what's going on in the Networking Academy program. What I want to do though is I do want you to know that it's not just these 2 offerings. If you become a Cisco Networking Academy, you have other free, and when I say free, it's because that $300 support fee for your entire school, it's not per student, not per instructor, it's for the entire school, allows that school to teach programming essentials in Python. It allows them to teach introduction to Internet of Things. It allows them to teach Linux Unhatched, which is a small Linux course. It allows them to teach Linux Essentials. This is a full 70-hour Linux course with the same type of built-in lab environment that you just saw for Python, but for Linux. So if you ever wanted to add a Linux course to your classes, you can do it right here. Become a Cisco Academy and you have a full class available. And if I go back here, I can actually show you, I'm pretty sure I've got a Linux class up and running. Yep, it's Linux 1, Linux 2, Linux Unhatched. Here's Linux Essentials. So here is a Linux Essentials class. And so looking at Linux chapter 1, I load it, and I have to agree to these because I have not done so. And I'd go back and load it again. And that's only because I hadn't ever loaded this particular chapter. And you'll notice at this point on the right-hand side here, an Ubuntu Linux PC is booting up. So again, your students can learn Linux, and you do not have to load Linux on any machines in your lab. You do not have to go to your IT department and ask them to load anything. You just say, I need internet access to netacad.com, and the students will be able to get to a full Linux box and perform Linux commands and do Linux labs. So, and the labs are built in just like they were inside of the Python. So that's free once you become a Cisco Academy. There's an introduction to cybersecurity, which is a small 5-module cybersecurity that's built for 15 hours. You want to put that into any course that you teach. Let's say it's your intro to computers course or your beginning computers course. This could be added in. It has packet tracer exercises that you can use. There's a cybersecurity essentials, which is a little more in depth. So it's 30 hours. So put those two together and you've got, what, 45 hours of cybersecurity that you could add into any curriculum that you have. No additional cost. There's a 15-hour entrepreneurship module that you could place into any of your business courses. There's a Be Your Own Boss. It's an 8-hour entrepreneurship. So it goes through how to, if you were going to open your own computer support company. And then we get into other items like IT essentials. Now this one's a little different because it does require instructor training. These others did not require instructor training. So if you had a student or instructor who was already teaching Linux or wanted to teach Linux, they could, the day you become a Cisco Academy, they could create a Linux Essentials class and start offering this class to your students. IT Essentials is a little bit different because it maps to A+ certification, and you do have to attend instructor training in order to teach this course. And we have an IT Essentials course that we teach, and we teach that course every semester. And it runs roughly, typically 10 to 12 weeks. It's online completely, and the instructors will do the labs and the hands-on assignments. And then they are accredited to teach this at your school. And then I didn't put in here, but CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Associate, many schools in the state teach that in their Net 1, Net 2 classes. And so they teach Introduction to Networks, and they teach switching, routing, and wireless essentials as their second class. So all of those classes are also available inside of NetAcad. And then, of course, you will have access to Packet Tracer, which is a full simulated environment that you can see where it works on Android, iOS, PCs. It is used in almost all of the Cisco Academy courses. It is not used in the programming assemblies in Python, but it is used in the Introduction to IoT. It's used in any of the other core courses like the Introduction to Cybersecurity, Cybersecurity Essentials, and those. A lot of people use it just in general IT classes, and once you're a Cisco Academy, you can, because Packet Tracer allows you to do things like build a simulated networking environment where you can just go in and put 2 routers or 2 PCs. So if I wanted to just, here's Packet Tracer. If I wanted just to have it where 2 PCs were connected to each other, I could drag out 2 PCs, take a crossover cable, and I could connect the 2. And then I have a full simulated environment to where I could put IP addresses on them and do all kinds of labs. So this simulation environment is something you get as part of becoming a Cisco Networking Academy. And then you can use them in any of your classes, not just the Cisco Networking Academy classes, which is very neat. This tool alone is people have tried to buy it from Cisco and they won't sell it because they want it to be used by the Cisco Networking Academy program. And folks, that is it for my little spiel here. I'm sorry it took so long, but I think the big thing here that we want, and I want you to see, is that this Programming Essentials in Python 2 class has 2 parts. The Programming Essentials in Python that's inside of NetAcad, and the Introduction to IoT, which is inside of NetAcad. So we need to look at you becoming Cisco Networking Academies so you have access to this. And we're here to do anything we can to make this successful. I've worked with Linda over the past couple months to try to make this, get this up and going, to see the best way to integrate it. I know we're in some crazy challenging times. I do think the format of this, and if you're teaching it in the fall, I still think you can do it. You may just have to not do any of the Canakit stuff or have your instructor do something like I'm doing with my Elmo system, where I do the labs in front of my class, and they don't have, if they don't have the Canakit, then they just have to watch what I'm doing.
Really, didn't you say that the Tinkercad would work here as a simulation?
Tinkercad would definitely work. If you've never used Tinkercad, the Tinkercad is a really neat little place. Tinkercad. It is by Autodesk, and you can do all kind of designs, and you can pull out electronics designs. So you can actually pull out a Raspberry Pi and a motherboard and resistors and everything. So Tinkercad is something that you can look at using during the meantime if we're not able to meet in person. Even if it spills into the spring, then there's ways we can use Tinkercad to at least simulate a lot of the hands-on labs. Yep, good point. Okay, I am open for any and all questions. Anybody have any questions they want to ask about the basics of where we're going here and what we need to do? Or is it one of those things where you got to think about it to have questions?
Kelly, I do have one question. How long does it take to become an academy? Once you go online and you fill out whatever the requirements are, an application or whatever it may be, how long does it take before you get access to these curriculums and NetAcad and all that stuff?
Typically, I would give it 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So the process, once you get it, especially if you tell me I have applied, I will email Jesse and say, Jesse, look out for this school. And then typically he gets it during the next 2 or 3 days, he gets it approved. And then I work with you to choose us as the Academy Support Center. And as soon as you ask to be my Academy Support Center, I approve it, even if I don't have the other signed contract from you. And the reason being because it's going to happen. I mean, I know that's going to happen, and I want your instructors to have access. So I would say 2 to 3 weeks from the time that you apply. Typically, I'm more on the two week end than the 3 week. Okay, any other questions? I am going to.
Kelly, you have a question in the
chat.
If we return to face-to-face instruction, will there be any hands-on training planned?
Yes, most definitely. We can definitely do that. Yeah, I would prefer to do some hands-on training and get everybody together and have our Canakits there and play with them and have everybody working together. Definitely.
We are, Kelly mentioned it earlier, we are currently have a team working on some professional development for teachers who will be teaching it this year. And I hope to have that registration link available by July 1st. We are going to model it after the Python 1 training, which right now is scheduled to be a 5-week course. It's a blend of instructor-led and self-paced activities. So we're trying to create that now, and like I said, I hope to have the registration link available by July 1st. So it'd be like a 4 to 5 week training for teachers, but it is a virtual training. So but that's the best we can do at this point. So this is taking the place of what we normally do in Burlington every year in June with face-to-face week-long training for teachers. And so this is a new adventure for me in terms of virtual PD. So I'm hoping that the Python 1 training is going to go well, and then the Python 2 will just follow that.
Yeah, I believe the hope was actually we were going to be there at that training, the hands-on training.
Right, it was.
Bring in my group, and we were gonna do it. So, but we all know where we're at. Excellent question from Ashley. Matthew Smith saying, does the district apply to be an academy, or each individual school apply? The way the Cisco Academy prefers is that each individual school applies to be their own academy. The reason being is for tracking metrics. What you have to understand, if the school district does it and you've got 4 schools or 3 schools underneath that, that only appears to Cisco leadership as one academy. But if you're all 3 appear. The other thing is the student accounts are underneath the individual academies. So if a student is at a particular high school, say I went to North Stanley High School in Stanley County. If they were at that high school, you would rather have their account appear under that academy versus another school in the system. Now they can move between them. There's no problem using accounts between different places. Tanya, should I redo our application for this year? We can talk about that, Tanya. But now I think yours is different, but each individual school is still its own academy. But the relationship, that's a different thing. The relationship as far as the ASC ITC contract you would have with us, that's for the district. So each one of your individual schools in Wake has their own academy, and then the other one. So, and what Tanya's talking about is Wake has multiple schools that are already academies, but when they go to sign the contract with us, and what we have is and I can show you that contract. We have a very simple contract that is at stanley.edu. If you go to ASCITC, Academy Support Center, you'll see support contract. When you click here, you'll see our contract for the 2020-2021. Effective date is 2020, goes for 1 year from that time. But you'll see we charge $300 per individual secondary academy for all curriculum, or $600 per school district up to 6 sites, with an additional $100 after that. So if you have seven schools, you'd pay $700. If you have 1 school, you pay $300. If you have 2, you pay $6. So this contract is between us and the district, but the individual academies create their own networking academies for tracking purposes. And it's crazy because I will say this: I have a Cisco Academy for Stanley Community College, which is for our students who take our classes, and then I also have my Academy Support Center and my Instructor Training Center. So it gets a little weird, but the tracking is important. Yeah, I'll definitely send you, I'll put it inside of chat right now, is a link to our contract. You would just do either individual secondary or secondary district. So check one of these. So if you're doing a single school, you check here. You put in your name and print the name and the title and the mailing address for your school. And obviously put your school here. So if this was I'm just going to use North Stanley because that's my former school. So if it's North Stanley High School, you'd put that in here. That'd be an individual secondary. You'd put in the mailing address and printed. I had a question. Some school system was being required to have an additional signature from the superintendent. If you need something like that, you can just place that in here. Just open this in Word and put an additional line. That's not a problem. And I will put my information in the box. I'll put my email address, so you are more than welcome to email me.
I will say that all of Kelly's information too is in that equipment technical guide for this course as well. So in case you lose it, it's there, or I have it. So.
And if you are on our ASCITC page, if you go to contact us, this is our crew here, and my contact information is right there. So got to make some changes here because Nick's actually working for one of our other groups, but the support contract, you can take a look at it. It's really an affiliation agreement is what we call it. It's very simple. You can read through it. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, I am going to stop the recording. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.